Hi, I'm Dorothy. Are you ready to dive deep into one of the bougiest zip codes in the country? The good, the bad, the ups and downs, the real and the not so real. This is That Greenwich Life. First, I'd like to thank our episode sponsor. Zsa Pet by Janet is the stress-free groomer in Greenwich for your precious pups. I take my golden doodle Bleecker there, and he plays with all the other dogs the whole time instead of being locked up in a crate, and he looks and smells amazing when he leaves. The name Zsa means happy place, and that's exactly what it is. For more info, visit zsapet.com and at Zsa Pet by Janet on Instagram. All right, welcome back to another episode of That Greenwich Life. I am your host, Dorothy Cascerceri Simone. And thank you so much again for tuning in this week. I'm so overwhelmed by the outpouring of support, but also just all the messages of people who are really connecting with a lot of the things that we're talking about on the show. That's what's most important to me, more than, numbers of listeners, downloads, all those things. That's important too. But really, if it's changing your human experience or it's making you want to think about something different in your life, then my job here is done. So on this episode, this is a really exciting episode because I have a very special guest here in the studio. She is an old friend of mine who I have not really connected with in a long time, but we've kind of been connected on Instagram. That's the beauty of social media, right? She's in town here in Greenwich in the Pod Populi studios from Miami where she lives. She has such an impressive resume. She's a public relations powerhouse. She's the founder of Wunderlich Kaplan Communications with over 27 years of experience with offices in New York, Miami, and get this, now Saudi Arabia, okay? She's worked with Alicia Keyes, Bal Harbour Shops, Maserati, a car that we see very often driving around Greenwich, Swizz Beatz, Charlotte's Web, the NFL, so many more. She also created a program called the Enternship in 2014. I remember this, to help women over 40 reinvent and reshift themselves. And since then, she's helped women elevate their brands, start new businesses, and score new careers. Her numerous programs and projects have been all so successful. She's a champion of women, and she's an all-around positive, energetic force. That's why I really wanted to have her on the show. Please, please welcome to That Greenwich Life, my dear friend, Gwen Wunderlich.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. I love you. I love that we got to reconnect last night at that amazing place you took me to.
Yes, we went to La Scala last night, which is, for Greenwich people, you know what it is. But for those that don't, it's this beautiful restaurant right on the water here in Greenwich. You can chill, sit, have a margarita, a glass of wine, watch these gorgeous yachts come pull up in the harbor. It's just a really special place. One of the reasons why I do really love Greenwich. It's hard to find a place like that in a lot of suburbs, Yeah,
I had no idea it existed. I have a friend up here. That's why I'm here. I'm in town for, some work stuff and a conference. And as soon as I knew I was coming to Greenwich, I was like, Dorothy, let me reconnect, call. And I'm so proud of everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. It was so great when I heard from you and you said you were coming to Greenwich, because the whole thing about this podcast, my whole goal for it is to bring people in that have a really good positive energy, that are vibrating at a really high frequency. And Gwen is 100% that. You have to follow her, by the way, on Instagram. Your handle is...
Yeah, it's Gwen Wunder, and that's WUNDR.
Right. You have to follow her because everything that she posts just brightens your day, and she keeps it real and she keeps it authentic. And that's what That Greenwich Life is all about. It's all about a peek behind what really is life here. But it's also I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the real story, I'm not just going to be showing up, in my Fendi bag and acting all important. I'm going to keep it real. And that's what I love about you. So,
but I do think in the recent, listen, you connect with people, you see them on Facebook, Instagram, right? And, you champion for them. You're like, hey girl, yeah, great. Your hair looks great. Or you're like, congrats on your podcast. But then I do feel like we've had more of a vibrational connection in the past year and a half, just based off of sending memes back and forth only, right?
100%. Yeah. And that's the best segue actually to start our conversation, because there's so many things that I could ask you to talk about, because you are just such an expert in so many fields, and there's so many different topics that you can speak on. But Gwen had posted this little meme or whatever you want to call it. And
you never know if it's a meme, if it's a GIF, a GIF.
Some people call it a GIF, a GIF. I don't even know. Like, this is where I date myself, but I love this. So I'm just going to share it first with our listeners and our viewers. And this was originally posted by a man by the name of Tony Edwards, who is a motivational speaker, entrepreneur. And I have not heard of him, in all honesty, but it makes sense because I absolutely love this. And we're going to talk about it. Okay, so I just don't want that for myself anymore is a valid enough reason to stop anything. Okay, this is what Gwen shared after we had already decided that she was going to come into the studio when she was in town. And when I saw this, I was like, this is what we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to say it one more time. I just don't want that for myself anymore is a valid enough reason to stop anything. Okay, so this we connected with because we have personal experiences that really echo this sentiment. And frankly, we talk a lot on the podcast about the power of yes. And I did a few episodes back about, accepting help and the power of being able to say yes. Like, I do need your help. Thank you for your help. I appreciate your offer. But on the flip side, there is a ton of power in the word no. And it's something that I think people struggle a lot with. So why don't you get started? You're my guest.
When I saw that meme, I actually posted it and said, and I was in a finance conference, so like I was getting kind of bored what they were saying, so I was scrolling on Insta, and then I was looking under my table, like I was like in 8th grade. So I saw doodling my new Instagram, right? I'm like, oh my God, scroll. I don't know what you guys are talking about, taxes. So I looked at it and I wrote on that meme when I shared it, I said, oh, we're going to talk about this later, because it actually came out such a good time for me, because a dear friend who I care about very much, but I believe that we're at different points of our career level, like our levels of where we're at in our businesses. She keeps sending me business that is way below my retainer scale. And to be quite frank, I do what I do, which is, public relations, because I love it, right? And so money's not my driver in life, although I love it and I want it, being passionate about something is what is my driver, right?
That's why you're successful.
And she keeps sending me projects that don't feel aligned with who I am, that feel like, Gwen 1.0 when I was 21 starting out, taking anything. Oh, you want me to promote a dog bone? Great. A cigarette? Great. Anything, right. Good. I'll do it. Give me the $1. Give me the $100 you're going to pay me.
Right.
I'm just at a different level of my life right now, so I don't want to do that. And, I would try to explain to her nicely, she's like, this is the rate. I'm like, no, thank you. I appreciate you though. And she'd be so forceful. Well, I need you to do this and this is, and, I don't want to say it's damaging our relationship a little bit, but I'm trying to have some sort of like grace and empathy because I know that she does need this for herself. But I can't be included in that, because if I have to work on your projects that I don't care about for the tiny retainer you're giving me, then I can't put that energy into my clients that are paying me 100 literally times the amount of that offer,
right,
and do a good job.
Right.
And if I can't do that, then I can't have what I want in my current life and my future. And again, it's not just about money. I just don't want to promote things that I don't feel are valuable to the human experience.
Right. And it's interesting because they're always, so I think one of the issues that people run into with saying no, one of the fears is that there's several different things, but one of them you're touching on right now. It's that fine line between you feel like you want to help, quote unquote, your friend, and you want to be there and help her with what she needs. But also, you're not running like a nonprofit. You're running a for-profit business, a very successful one. And so the whole thing that people struggle with is, do I put my own needs before the need of this other person? And in that question, a lot of us have a hard time saying, no, I'm sorry.
Well, right. So to be clear, she has a very profitable events company, right? So it's not that she doesn't. It's just that those aren't the kind of projects that I want to anymore. I felt like I built myself as a unique, individual of what I care about. If you give me a dog charity or a women's charity, I'll do it for free because I want to help. But I don't care about helping the things that she's asking me to do for whatever money she's asking me to do.
Of course. Right.
But, listen, years ago, I would have definitely, took it on. But so I got a divorce several years ago. woo. And I say that, it's like, don't feel bad for me, guys. It was amazing.
That's right.
If you're thinking about it, but you're scared because of your life, you can reset yourself, and it's great.
Well, this is all very much on theme because, I just don't want that for myself anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people have made that decision, but they don't know how to then move on from that.
Right.
And you did.
Well, finally.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't overnight. It was, it was 5 years too late.
It's never easy.
But after that, I realized I needed to heal. I needed to fix myself. I needed to reshift. I needed to be a better next version of me. I just wanted that for myself. So I took these philosophy classes in New York, and it was so great, and I really recommend it. And it's at the School of Practical Philosophy. It's in this huge, big, not brownstone, mansion, stone off of Central Park. And I took the Art of Happiness, or the Happiness program, and it was like $10 for the whole time. I mean, really.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nothing
and they
costs
still have it.
$10
I saw an ad on a Subway, okay, like that.
You can't even get breakfast for $10.
No, and I think it's still $10. It's like a 8-week course. And so when I was about to take it, my friend goes, "You're going to a cult." I was like, whatever. Screw it. Fuck it. Whatever. So she ended up coming in, and she loved it. And we brought in a lot of people, and they loved it. But I said it to say, in the first day, this teacher, she was so lovely, so amazing. She's sitting there, and she said, all right, now raise your hand. Is your word your bond? Now, we're almost around the same age. I'm a little older, but, I grew up on Long Island, and it would be like all the young hip-hop kids would be like, word is bond, word is bond, right? You'd say that, and that was a teen thing. And I think that we said it, but we didn't really understand the depth of what that meant, right? So she goes, whose word is their bond? And everyone raised their hand, and she goes, okay, so we're going to do that again, and I want you to think about if your word really is your bond. And after that, myself included, many people did not put their hand up.
I bet.
And I thought, it's the first time I actually self-realized, and I'm like, wait. And she goes, is it because you overpromise to people and then you disappoint them? And it's because you're saying yes to everything instead of saying, I'm not sure if I can. Don't count on me, but I'll try my best. Then you avoid the disappointment. You avoid the stress on yourself.
The guilt.
And then you're not flailing everywhere like, oh my God, I said I would to Judy, I'd pick up the carrots and I'd pick up the cake. And now you can't even accomplish what you set out to accomplish that day, because you're doing for everybody else things that don't fit into like your passion, path, and purpose. So like, to be successful, you have to work on like a growth path. And you can't do that if you're focusing on things that don't matter.
That's right.
You know?
And it's not just in business. It's really even just in your personal life. I used to always say yes to every single plan that came down the pike. And I realized I went through a really, really hard period of my life, which, Gwen, you know about, many of our listeners know about. I lost a baby at 21 weeks, and then I went through this horrific journey of infertility and IVF that didn't work, and so many losses, and it was a really, really dark point of my life. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I am going to talk all about this down the road. But when I went through that and everything got really quiet and I became really small in a way, that's when I realized I have to start saying no to more things. Like, I'm overextending myself and I can barely even survive right now given where I am. And I think that was definitely a time that taught me the power of saying no. And frankly, if you want to talk about IVF and if you're listening, you don't have to have ever gone through any IVF or anything. If you're a guy and you've never even been through IVF, I promise you will still connect to what I'm about to say. Because to the point of what we're talking about today, knowing when it's time to move on from something, I did not know with IVF. I really didn't. I did 5 rounds of IVF. I was under general anesthesia more times than Michael Jackson, let's be honest. I think my brain is still scrambled from the amount of times I went under general anesthesia.
Stays in your body.
It stays in your body.
You gotta get it out.
And it was like back to back to back because I would go under it. I would go under general anesthesia for an egg retrieval, which is when they go in and they get all the eggs after you've pumped yourself up with like shots for 2 weeks. And then I would end up getting pregnant, and then I would end up losing the baby, having a miscarriage, and then I would have to go under general anesthesia again so that they could do what is called a D&C, where they remove everything. It was really a very, very traumatic time in my life. And with IVF, I did 5 rounds. I got pregnant several times, 3 times, I believe. I had 3 miscarriages. I got pregnant on my own in the midst of all of that, which I thought, this is it. This is the answer. This is the key. This is the baby that we've all been waiting for. I had a miscarriage during that pregnancy as well, right off the heels of my 40th birthday, the day before I was scheduled to leave to Croatia for a surprise vacation that my husband had planned for my birthday, canceled the vacation and had to go under anesthesia again for another D&C in the hospital. Didn't go to Croatia. Instead, I did that. I mean, this was like the lowest of the low. And the point that I'm making is that eventually it got to the point where I said, this has to end. This has to stop. Because
for your sanity, for your well-being. Sanity,
I felt like I was just like a group of cells with a heartbeat walking around on this earth, but there was no one inside.
And a pincushion.
And a pincushion, right. A pincushion, a lab rat. And so I said to my husband, like, that's it. It has to end. And I don't even want to try this without IVF. Like, I cannot do this anymore. I was devastated. This wasn't a decision that I made easily. It wasn't a decision that I made that I wanted to make. But at some point, it's like you have to say, I just don't want that for myself anymore.
Right, you have to save yourself.
Yes. And
you have to save yourself because no one's coming to save you.
That's exactly right. And it was a conversation that we had right here in Greenwich. We went to Island Beach for the day, which is this cute little island that you take a ferry to here in Greenwich. If you're ever in town, you got to check it out. But we did this little date day. I broke this news to my husband. He knew it was coming. I mean, come on. He had seen the way that it was going for me for so many years. And I said, I don't know how I'm ever going to heal from this. I don't know how I'm ever going to be okay with not having another baby, but I don't have a choice. I have to stop. And you guys, you've heard this story from people, I'm sure, in your life, but I shit you not, a few weeks later, I was out at my friend's, came home, had a couple glasses of tequila. My husband was in Chicago for work. I told you this story last night, Gwen. And I was like, oh, wait a second. What's today's date? Like, let me do, like, I think I'm late. I think my period's late. Like, what's going on? But didn't think even for a second that I was pregnant. And lo and behold, I was pregnant, which you might think like, oh, yay, like happy ending, but no, because I was just thinking to myself, like, what fresh hell is around the next corner? Like, what's it going to be? What's it going to be next? And I went through 9 months of, managing my nervous system and my anxiety during this pregnancy. And even till the last day before I was going in for my planned C-section, I still was not convinced that this baby would ever enter my home, because there were so many babies that I came home from the hospital without being in my arms. There were just too many when I walked into my house with empty arms. And the baby is my daughter, Gemma, who is now 17 months, and it's wild. And it is such a great ending. But the point is, like, I had to take that stand, and I had to say, I just don't want this for myself anymore.
Well, it's interesting because when you shift your mindset to the, no, I need to do what serves me and I don't want this for my life anymore, it empowers you. Once you really step into it, it's so fucking empowering.
Without a doubt.
Because you're just like, listen, love you, but no thank you, but you have a great time. And so during that, you had mentioned that, maybe some people felt disappointed in you because during that time when you were struggle busing, you could not show up for other people go other places. And I do find is that you may lose some acquaintances, you may lose some family members, you may lose people that are not emotionally equipped in this life. Because someone who's emotionally equipped, you can say to them, listen, I am personally going through a very bad time. I can't right now because I feel like I'm dying inside, but I love you. I'll send a gift. But I can't show up. And if somebody loves you and if they're emotionally equipped, emotionally stable, and have a high emotional IQ, they'll be like, you know what? Forget about it. What can I do for you? How can I support you?
That's right.
So you may lose some people, but you know what? Fuck them. They're okay. You don't need to, because those are not the type of people that are going to evolve with you in life and be there like at your most dire times, because that's really what we need at the end, right? People that are gonna have been with us and been there for our suffering.
Yep, that's exactly
what I'm
right.
saying?
That's exactly right. It was almost a study, like this whole experience was almost a study on human behavior. And I feel like I was in some kind of a course, like a college level course, where I was able to witness like all of these people. How many? Maybe like 100 people maybe that I knew, ranging from closest family to, you know, somebody that I didn't really know all that well, that I maybe only met like a friend of a friend. And when you look back and you see the way that people responded to everything. Some people, to your point, you know, they gave me a ton of grace.
Right.
And some people...
Which is so overrated, that word, but it's not overrated to me. I have found myself using it in the past 3 years where to give someone grace. Because you know what I realized after we left, and I'm sorry to cut you off last night?
No.
You, to me, are a happy, energetic, light-filled person. When you told me all this last night, I had no idea. I wanted to cry right there. Like, my throat was getting tight, but I wasn't going to cry because you weren't crying. And, you know, I knew, like, we were moving on. It's like, okay. You know, when you're able to talk about your story without crying, and then you're telling other people, like, then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to cry if she's over there crying. You know, but I was just like, holy shit, I had no idea. I had no idea. So even if you maybe said I lost a child, like, I didn't understand the deep and levels of sadness and what you were going through because you didn't show it like that to the outside world. And I was like, damn, I'm so sorry. But I said to my girlfriend, Gina, who was there with us last night, I said, you know, it just goes to prove what I say every day. You have to give every single person grace because you don't know what they're walking around with. You have no idea what the person sitting next to you is like dealing with.
That's entirely right. Thank you for saying all of that, by the way. You know, I took a long break from social media when it all happened. And then as I came back on social media, I did from time to time write, because I'm a writer first and foremost.
Right,
Before my TV career, you know, I was a journalism major in college. Writing is my passion. That's what really got me to where I am.
I got a quote for you.
Right? Okay. But I'm a writer. And so I did write a little bit here and there about my losses on and post them to Instagram, but it was never in real time. It was never even like a week after. I didn't really, it was a really, really hard time. I was very vulnerable. So I didn't really share a lot, but it's interesting because when you mentioned the word grace, I didn't even really know what that was. And I wasn't really using it ever in life, I don't think. I mean, I went to Grace Nursery School and maybe I would use it in that context if I was talking to people that are, you know, from Philly or whatever. But really, grace is a very important thing. And it's, you know, it's really when somebody is going through something difficult, it's just surrounding them with love and positivity and not asking for anything in return at that time.
Right. It's going to someone's house. Give me your hand. It's going to someone's house and sitting there like this.
Yes.
So you want some Entenmann's cake?
Right.
Let me make an egg salad sandwich.
Just like holding, just like holding, like putting your hand on their hand and just sitting with them. Right. And, you know, with this whole, when you posted this whole idea of, I just don't want that for myself anymore, it does pertain to a lot of relationships. I mean, you mentioned your divorce and, you know, your marriage that you decided, like, I just don't want this for myself anymore. And
it was killing me. It was physically, you know, I was a hard 215 pounds at the time. A sexy 215.
No, you were you always looked incredible. But for listeners, you have to go onto YouTube, go onto my Instagram at Dorothy on TV. You have to see Gwen has had a complete transformation. I mean, I see you're at the gym a lot and you're very committed to staying healthy and to staying strong and to staying fit.
Yeah.
And I love that. But you wanted to make a change there too, right?
I did, but it's all, you know, you can't be totally screwed up in one part of your life and be really great in another part. It actually just does not work. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what you were going through, do you think everything you're personally going through, you're killing it at work? You know you're not going through because everything is like, you know, it all connects. You know what I'm saying? If you are, you know, having the worst time, you know, getting a divorce with your husband, you think you're not like doing something to, maybe I'm going to go drink with the girls after work. Maybe I'll have extra something. You have to fill the holes of the sadness. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so like
right.
I needed to keep reshifting, and only when I finally got rid of him could I. because I was always on a diet. I was always working out. I was always doing whatever. I'd be at SoulCycle. I'd be here, walking, whatever, trainers. Never can get it off. Only when I got there and I reset my life and I made it a mindset commitment change. This is my life now. This is who I am. I would never go back to that because it's just not who I am anymore.
Right.
It took 3 years to really get into this hardcore pattern. But even with a wellness journey, you know what it was? I'd be like, yeah, I'll be at SoulCycle, but I'll be out that night drinking. Okay, I'll go to bagels with friends the next day. Now, and some of my friends do get mad at me. They're a little bit younger. You know, they're like, in Miami, they're like, oh, why do you always say no? Why are you not coming out tonight? I was like, because here's what the situation is. If I do that tonight, I cannot have a powerful performance tomorrow night at the gym. And to me, that is what I care most about right now, my wellness and my well-being and my path of longevity. And you know, interestingly enough, like a couple of years ago, I wrote, after watching the show Ballers that I love with The Rock, that I wanted to be an athlete. And it was so far-fetched from who I have always been, right? Every excuse before, like, I stole my dad's Priming Teen Mist, an old bottle, and took it to my gym class. So I would tell the gym teacher that I had asthma, so I didn't have to, like, run. You know what I'm saying? Like, that fat fuck status. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, let me also just really quick, when I was a volleyball player in high school and I was captain of the volleyball team, and I went to Gwen and Mercy, and we had the Mercy Mile. And I wanted so badly to never, ever run that mile. And so basically, like, me and a couple other teammates, we would just, like, sneak behind the school and smoke cigarettes instead of running the Mercy Mile. So I would do anything to get out of hardcore
100%.
exercise.
So like, you get it. So for me, you know, while that was me, you know, the other day, I went somewhere, like, and I was doing a sport therapy thing, and this guy goes, well, you know, because you're an athlete. And I was like, who? And he's like, you. I was like, well, no, I'm not an athlete. He goes, I can tell by your muscle tone, your body, your strength, your tenacity, you are an athlite.
Right.
So don't say you're not. And I was like,
so what you put out there,
I became because I worked into it, and I was running several miles, like, you know, out in the speeding sun. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, I can't believe I fucking have to do this.
Right.
But then I saw this girl's back in front of me, and she's running. It's all tight. I'm like, well, she's an athlete, bitch. You're an athlete too. Keep running.
Yes.
And then I can't tell you what happened. Like, my mind shifted, and then running felt like no problem. I had no problem breathing. It was great. And, you know, but that power of no helped me be better in my athletic journey. And at 48 years old, you know, many women die as they get older when they are frail, when they break a hip, because then all these things start happening. That's right. You know? And there's a thing, I saw this meme years ago, it was like thick thighs save lives, right? And I never, like, I thought it was just
what is it? Thick
thighs.
Thick thighs save lives.
And I thought it was like a curvy, positive, like chunky monkey, it girl type of thing. And I was just talking to my boyfriend about it. I was like, oh, you know that thick thighs save lives? He's like, well, actually, that's true. I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, your thighs are actually the biggest muscle in your body, and they're your trunk. So when there's strength, your hips are strong. And so then you won't be frail and fall and have damage that other people. I was like, oh, snap. All right, give me another burger. Let's get these muscles up. But you know what I mean? But if I hadn't said no over and over again to things that did not benefit me, it's not like I won't go out for a cool, you know, industry event or an art gala, but like when my friend's like, oh, we're just going to the dive bar. Oh, we're just going to the concert. I don't need to do that, because if it's not going to benefit my pocket or my body, then I don't care.
Or your soul. Yeah.
Or my soul. Yep. Because be clear, I'll go to my girlfriend's house and have a couple of glasses of wine, and like 5 of them will be over, and we'll do a dance party at night. Right. But that feeds my soul.
Exactly.
So soul, health, or wealth.
Yep.
Anything else, I'm not here for.
I love that. I mean, and you have to have a very clear, like, you have to really embrace this concept in a very, very clear way. I talked in an episode, I'm trying to think, was it 2 weeks ago, or I forget, go back to it. I talked about picking a direction in being really clear about which direction we want to go with things, and being clear with ourselves, and then being able to communicate clearly to others. And that's a big component of what we're talking about today, because if you embrace this mentality, I just don't want that for myself anymore, is a valid enough reason to stop anything. it takes away that guilt and that idea of you should be doing something different or you should be doing something other than what you want to be doing.
It takes the emotion out of the decision.
That's right.
And that is such a powerful thing to understand. Once you take an emotion out of a decision, it removes the guilt. It removes the weird shit that just happened with you and your friend when you told her that. Because if she knows who you are, right? If she's like, Dorothy is a one drinker because she's only going to have one drink. She's only going to eat, she's a vegan now. She's only going to eat this. Once you do this and you're like, this is who I am. You eat the barbecue. Just have some carrots for me, girl. I'm good.
Exactly.
If you're like, that's your lifestyle. I respect it, but this is my respect it. But we're still going to have a great time. People start treating you as you tell them to treat you.
That's right.
You tell people who you are. So that's why you need to really be like, this is who I am. This is what I say yes to. So I say no to. So then people just know to come to you with. And it's interesting because I don't listen to gossip. I do not gossip. And I don't fucking play that shit.
Well, I always say, when I came up with this podcast, That Greenwich Life, people are like, oh, it's going to be a gossip show about Greenwich. It's like, well, guys, I made a career out of celebrity gossip. So I gossiped enough to give myself all the bad karma for a lifetime. I'm undoing the bad karma, but so I do not gossip.
Yeah, I don't do it because I don't want to hear it.
That's right.
And you know what? It's almost like telephone. Like you're just telling me something that probably didn't happen about somebody. You don't have nothing better to do.
Right.
I don't gossip because my life's so big, right? But it's interesting because my business partner, and they know I don't want to hear it, don't even come to me or don't complain to me because I'm like,
same.
You need to be a solution person. You come to me when you've tried to work out the solution and you couldn't, but you tried 15 times, then come to me. So people know that about me to the point that all the clients will go to my business partner, never to me. Like the clients that come to me more are the male clients with like high testosterone that are like powerful, and the complainers will go to her.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And she'll call me and be like, I can't believe this client called me and complained for like 45 minutes. I was like, oh, well, I wouldn't be having that.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
So they don't even bother.
Right.
Because I've stated, you already know who I am.
Because you have set clear boundaries.
Right.
And
that's also what the power of no does, setting boundaries.
Yeah, I don't even know if we've used the word boundary yet today in this conversation, but this was a very large piece of boundary work. And we could talk about this so much more, and we're going to, because I have many episodes coming up that are planned about boundaries and things like this. And also walking away from people who maybe don't respect you saying no. You have to kind of put that out there. If no is the right answer for you and somebody doesn't like that, or somebody has a problem with that, and then they start giving you the silent treatment, or, they try to fight with you about it, that is a red flag about the person and your relationship with the person. It is not a red flag about your decision to say no in that situation.
Well, it is. It's half relationship. It's half like about your relationship with the person. But again, I think it goes back to emotional intelligence of the person that's standing before you.
That's exactly right.
So to give you an example, I was representing this guy, and the retainer was low, but he was a friend of a friend. My guy best friend begged me to do it, but like I love my guy best friend. He does a lot for me. So I'm like, it was a small project, right? So I helped him out for 3 months. I do public relations, which means I make brands, people, and places famous. So I got him on the Today Show. I got him on, GMA, Good Morning America, blowing him up. This guy was so excited. He had more press than he ever had. And he did good for himself before. He had lots of celebrities in his restaurants, whatever. But my retainer was very low. But it was close to my house. And I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. And so I liked him. But then he was starting to get late with these small retainer checks. And then it was like the 15th of the month. And I said, hey, I need to come pick up this check. Right. And I don't even go pick up checks. Come on. What is this old school mafioso? I'm not picking up checks. I'm not picking up cash with some fish. You know what I mean? It's like, wire transfer me, mofo. But okay, I was down the street. I'm like, all right, give me some mac and cheese and a check. Fine. And so I go to get the check, and he's like, oh, I only have half of it. He was like 20 minutes late. And you only have half because he's opening a new restaurant, and I'll give it to you in a few weeks. But be clear, he pulled up in his Maybach with his brand new gold Rolex that I saw he had just bought him and his wife matching ones. So I looked at him, and he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. You're doing so great. So what's the plan? I said, listen, I really like you. I like your restaurants. I'm here to support you as a friend, but we're not going to be able to work together anymore. And he goes, what? Why not? And I said, because you're being disrespectful of my time. and my money, and I know that you don't mean to because you're not prioritizing where you're putting your money, because that gold Rolex is more important to you than the growth of your business.
Right.
But that's okay. That's really okay. I'm not offended, but
I have need to walk away now.
I said, I don't want to say it like this, but I need you to understand what I'm saying to you without emotion. It's me or you, and I have to choose me.
Yep.
I have to choose me for my long-term financial future, for my mental clarity, for my sanity, and to give myself the time to go look at better opportunities for myself.
And to not compromise your self-worth.
Right. And or that I could just go sit in my fucking pool instead of fucking working for you and making you famous, and you don't care about funding my pockets.
Right.
So he was like, no, but we can work something out. I said, but we can't, because I knew emotionally he was not there. He didn't get it. He wasn't at the same business level I was at.
That's right.
So I think that sometimes you really need to understand, like, not be self-absorbed, but understand that the person you're standing in front of, they may not have the emotional IQ to even understand what you're saying. When you're saying, I just can't today.
Yep.
What do you mean you can't? Because if I give one more piece, I'm going to die.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So like, it doesn't matter. Just take care of yourself.
And also, that's such a great point. And also, you don't have to be mad. You don't have to be mad at the person. You don't have to be mad about the person. You don't have to create a whole story in your head about how this person disrespected me and this person wasn't there for me. And, you know, all of these different things. You just have to be really clear in your mind and your heart. And you need to be able to say, I just don't want this for myself anymore.
Yeah.
And however the person reacts, it's okay. That's what their reaction is. So we're running out of time, but before we go, every episode I give our listeners and our viewers their weekly work on, just like our weekly and daily workouts keep our bodies in shape. Our weekly work on keeps our minds in shape. It keeps our lives in balance. And for this week, it's pretty obvious, guys. Just take a look at my Instagram at Dorothy on TV. I'm going to post this little meme that Gwen had posted. I just don't want that for myself anymore is a valid enough reason to stop anything. I want you to really absorb these words this week, and I want you to put it into action, just maybe one time, one small exercise. Come to a conclusion about something that's not serving you. Pay attention to how your body feels about a particular person, about a particular situation or a relationship or whatever it might be, a specific direction that you're going on. Pay attention to how your body feels. If your body doesn't feel good and you're feeling something weird in your stomach or your throat or the back of your neck or your shoulders, listen to it and then be able to say to yourself, it's okay to say no to this. Practice the power of saying no. Anyway, thank you so much to my amazing guest, Gwen Wunderlich. She's incredible. She is one of the biggest powerhouse publicists I know. She has tons of incredible clients, and you can follow her at Gwen Wunder, WUNDER on Instagram. And you can check me out at Dorothy on TV on Instagram and DorothyOnTV.com. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. And please try to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. You can
5 star.
Five star. So far we're 5-star only. Although,
all right.
Although my one friend mistakenly hit the 2-star completely by mistake with like an amazing review, and then had to like put in a request for a correction. I was like, oh my God, who gave me 2 stars? It was just my friend who, fumbled the keyboard. But but anyway, please listen on Spotify, Audible, wherever you listen to your podcast. And remember, don't just live life, love it. And I will see you next week.